Hey everybody, and welcome to part 2 of this series. In part 1, we got to speak with Dr. Nat'Taki Osborne-Jelks, who's doing a lot of great work with the West Atlanta Watershed Alliance. In this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about the science behind why West Atlanta floods and connect this issue to some other water-related issues that people in other parts of the world are facing. The reason West Atlanta floods is because the city of Atlanta is built on a combined sewer overflow. What this means is that our stormwater and our sewage water drain into the same pipes. This is not a problem when the weather's dry and there's not a lot of rain on the ground, but when there is a severe rain event, the sewers can get overwhelmed. When the sewers get overflowed, the sewage stormy water drains into the Chattahoochee River and the other creeks and tributaries in the area. Proctor Creek and the West Atlanta area is in a basin, and so whenever the creeks and rivers nearby floods, their neighborhoods floods. This results in sewage water essentially going into people's homes. As you can expect, this has some pretty bad health effects. A lot of homes are exposed to bacteria that are in the sewage, and if they have been in this neighborhood for a long time, there's a lot of moisture that gets trapped in the home. If your home is consistently wet and moist, it can be a breeding ground for mold, and mold has been linked to asthma. Oftentimes, communities in the West Atlanta area have increased rates of childhood asthma, which we think might be due in part to the high levels of mold in their homes. The stormwater overflow that West Atlanta is facing is a big issue, and I wanted to learn more about what the city of Atlanta is doing. So I got to interview Stephanie Stuckey, who is the Chief Resilience Officer for the City of Atlanta. Hey everybody, Maria Jolly here. We're in Atlanta City Hall, and we're about to talk to Stephanie Stuckey, the Chief Resilience Officer for the City of Atlanta. We're going to be talking to her about the work she's doing in Proctor Creek to help improve the situation that Nat'Taki had described around flooding because of stormwater overflow.
The Office of Resilience is in partnership with the 100 Resilient Cities program that was pioneered by the Rockefeller Foundation. It's a program that began in 2013 and is really a convergence of three major trends that are happening: urbanization, globalization, and climate change. And the Rockefeller Foundation rightfully recognized that cities are leaders on all of these critical issues affecting everyone in the world. Atlanta is one of the few cities that was not built on a major water body. Water supply and drought are a concern, and then you layer that with the flooding issues that are caused in part by climate change impacts. We have a lot that we have to manage. So the definition of resilience is defined by the Rockefeller Foundation 100 Resilient Cities program is working with cities, and within the cities, institutions, businesses, nonprofits, organizations, to help cities deal with the short-term shocks and the long-term stresses so that they can rebound in a way that's stronger. For those of you familiar with City of Atlanta, you likely know that the west side of town has a lot of economic issues, a lot of environmental degradation, and a lack of quality education opportunities. So the mayor rightfully felt that if we could address some of the flooding and environmental issues related to Proctor Creek, then we could really go a long way towards revitalizing the west side. There's two major initiatives that my office has worked on very closely in conjunction with other city departments and certainly with the mayor's leadership. That's the Army Corps of Engineers Ecological Habitat Restoration Study of the Proctor Creek watershed, and then the Proctor Creek Greenway, which is a 7-mile trail that will run from the Atlanta West Side Beltline Trail to the Chattahoochee River when it's complete. We work with the Proctor Creek Stewardship Council, the Chattahoochee River Keeper Eco Action, and the West Atlanta Watershed Alliance, just to name a few. I think where West Atlanta Watershed Alliance, or WAWA as we like to call them, where they've really been successful is not only advice on green infrastructure and making sure that we are hearing the community's concerns, because people who live in the community really understand where it floods.
Now that we've learned a little bit about what the City of Atlanta is doing regarding the water-related issues the city is facing, let's go to another part of the world and see what Pakistan is doing related to their water disasters. Earlier this November, I had the opportunity to attend the UN climate negotiations as part of Emory University's delegation. There, I got to meet with a lot of the world's leaders who are working to solve these complex issues. With climate change, we expect to see intensified natural disasters, and in a lot of areas that could mean either flooding or drought. Pakistan is surrounded by glaciers, and as the globe warms, these glaciers melt. As these glaciers melt, they tend to overflow the lakes and waterways in the area. So Pakistan has been facing a lot of what is called glacial lake outburst floods, which are when a glacier melts and the water that flows from it inundates the local waterways. To learn more about what Pakistan is doing to adapt and respond to these kinds of events, let's talk to Bilal from Lead Pakistan, which is an organization tackling these kinds of events.
So my name is Bilal Khalid and I work with Lead Pakistan. We are a sustainable development think tank working on climate and water issues, and I'm working as the focal person in their climate and water program. So it is well established that monsoon patterns are now shifting under the influence of climate change, and they're penetrating parts and regions which were not previously exposed to monsoon rains. And that again poses a big challenge, because coping with monsoon rains is quite an exercise for cities or regions or basins that have not witnessed the monsoon episodes before. It's a challenge in itself. And I told you the example of Chitral in north of Pakistan, which have been exposed to repeated flash floods because the snow caps in the north of Chitral are being exposed to monsoon precipitation, which are warm waters that are causing a rapid melting of ice, which leads to a rapid generation of runoff downstream, which has caused repeated casualties in Chitral. So these kind of events, I think it's becoming more and more clear, and there's also recognition among the government that climate change is a major contributing factor in these disasters. And what is happening in our experience, luckily or unluckily, the episodes of extreme events have created a lot of political momentum and also momentum among stakeholders to work towards these issues. There's an increasing realization that climate change is causing unprecedented extreme events for which we are not prepared. So I think that is one of the the nature of the climate shock is as such that it helps us. There's an increasing realization among stakeholders, and people are increasingly able to feel the impacts of climate change at a personal level, which enables us to go and work with them and have that existing political will in place.
I hope you enjoyed these last two videos. If these kinds of environmental issues are interesting to you, please check out my second video series where I have daily overviews of everything I learned from the UN climate negotiations. To learn more about this and the other kind of environmental work I do, please go to mariajollythinks.com or check out the videos below. Thanks!